Hello, I decided to do my presentation for this chapter on the freedom of expression in public schools. It was very interesting to me that we needed to actually define in the courts what we are going to use as being reasonable as far as allowing or denying freedom of speech to our students. Basically, officials are granted a wide range of latitude when it comes to restricting freedom of expression, but they must be reasonable. And the courts have favored students as well as school boards concerning the freedom of expression. So there are limits, because there have been many times when the school boards have won as well. So generally speaking, the students hold the same rights as adults under the First Amendment. In the First Amendment, the portion that is important here states, Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech or of press or of the rights of people to peacefully assemble. And the first case that really gave the students the same rights under the Constitution as adults was the Tinker case. It was a very important case. What happened was some students wore black armbands to school, and the reason for them to do this was to express their protest to the Vietnam War. And for doing this, the students were punished, and they ended up taking their school board to court. And on the flip side of the coin, we have Blackwell versus the Issaquah County Board of Education. In this situation, there was a lot more that went on. Students were punished and expelled after there was a disturbance caused by students being loud in the hallway while they were supposed to be in class. The principal banned the buttons, and he gave the students 2 warnings not to wear the buttons anymore. The students who still wore the buttons were then expelled, and then as they were leaving, they tried to get other students to go with them to help in their protest. So, in short, what we learned in the Tinker case was that it was not reasonable to punish those students. Since there was no evidence of a disturbance that led to an unpeaceful climate or a distraction from the learning environment at the school, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in favor of the students. And that ruling also gave the precedent that the students were to have pretty much the same rights under the First Amendment as adults. During the Blackwell versus the Issaquah County Board of Education, the courts found that it was reasonable in this case to punish the students. This case was much different because there was both a disturbance to the peaceful environment, because the students who were wearing these buttons were talking loudly and disturbing other students, and it also directly disturbed the learning environment because this disturbance occurred during class time. So not only were the students supposed to be learning at that time, but students in the classrooms close to them could also be affected by their behavior. This was further enhanced by the actions of the students as they've left the school. So now down to my subtopic, which I think is hard to talk about without learning the pretext in the book, is the freedom of expression in school. To determine if you or another member of the faculty should do something to hinder a student's or group of students' freedom of expression, there are 3 guidelines that we should follow. The first guideline is this: school officials must prove that the actions caused a disturbance at the school that altered the school's ability to uphold a peaceful and educational environment. The second guideline states that messages displayed by the students may be banned if they are vulgar or obscene or mock race, color, creed, or gender. And the last guideline is that to justify the prohibition of a particular expression, it has to be proven that it does more than simply cause discomfort or unpleasantness associated with an unpopular viewpoint. So if we follow these 3 guidelines until there are further precedents that are proven in courts, we should be okay.